In this video, I'm going to talk about books I've just read, books that I'm currently reading, and what I'm going to be reading in the coming weeks. Let's just jump right into it. First of all, Stanisław Lem, Return from the Stars, the Polish original title, Powrót z Gwiazd. Have you ever had this feeling? Perhaps you've lived in a place as a kid and then you moved away. You haven't visited for a very long time and then you do go back and you're hit with this feeling of duality. You have this emergent property where you're seeing something for the very first time. You didn't remember what was going to be around the corner, but then when you see it, you do. This memory comes right back to you. So you have this duality of seeing something for the very first time, because just a moment ago, you had no clue what's going to be around the corner, and you have that. But you also have coming back at you the memory of seeing it many, many years ago. I had this feeling while I was reading Powrót z Gwiazd. I had this feeling of not knowing what's going to happen next, but then as soon as I read it, I would both receive the knowledge, but also receive the memory of reading this some 25 years ago. Amazing feeling, actually, that I quite enjoyed. So this is a benefit of rereading a book after many, many years. Maybe it's been 30 years, who knows? Anyway, this was written in the early 60s, I believe 1961, by Stanisław Lem, Polish author, of course. He's most famous for Solaris, but this is one of his serious works. He's written a lot of stuff that has a very lighthearted, farcical nature to it, but not this one. This is a serious book that tackles a serious issue. We have a protagonist, an American astronaut, a pilot who comes back from the stars. He spent in his life 10 years have passed, but on Earth way over 100 years have passed. I think like 130 years. So Earth now is a completely changed place. It's a different planet. One of the main differences is violence has been essentially eradicated from Earth. Is this a good thing? Now, Hal, the protagonist, has a very hard time adapting to his new surrounding. He is like an alien returning to Earth. This really gave me lots of vibes of Stranger from the Strange Land, which was written, I believe, right after this book. I like this one much more than Stranger in the Strange Land. In Heinlein's book, I did not appreciate all the personal politics that was injected. This dealt a lot more with how it would feel to someone to return to your home planet that has now completely changed. Of course, in Stranger in a Strange Land, we're talking about a Martian arriving, but the Martian is a human still. So that's where the correlation in my mind takes place. So this was incredibly interesting book. It deals with PTSD because on his trip, and we get flashbacks, a lot has happened. He was in danger. And I don't want to get into spoiler territory, so maybe I'll just leave that. But things have happened on that trip. And while the book doesn't really concentrate on what happened in those 10 years, it does talk about it in the sense of how it affects who Hal is and how particularly difficult, because of his experiences, it is for him to now live in this world of safety where everything is vanilla. There are no wars anymore. Humans are incapable of violence. They cannot kill. Sexually, they're stunted. It's a world that you think perhaps at first, maybe it appears as if it's a utopia, but then you quickly figure out, no, this is a dystopia. And Hal has a very hard time relating to women. Women are afraid of him because he's dangerous. But they're also drawn to him because he's dangerous. This is very interesting. I found the book fascinating. It's a really good read. There's a lot in it that makes you think about where we're going as a society, kind of removing any sort of critique or any sort of triggering events or thoughts really from our lives. My daughter, she is in college, and this is something that I think about quite often. To me, freedom of speech is an important pillar of our society, and I am worried about some things, even though I understand young people and I understand that they mean well and where they want to go. There are some things that I think they're missing out, and a book like this, I think, can be helpful in sparking a discussion, at least looking at things from a different perspective. So anyway, interesting book. I really enjoyed it. I'm not going to be ranking or giving numbers to books, but this was really good. Another book I just finished reading, I finished reading this maybe like 4 or 5 days ago, was In the Lives of Puppets. And here's a book that I cannot recommend strongly enough. I just think this book is beautiful. It's told in a way that makes you feel good. You feel all warm and fuzzy as you're reading this book, but at the same time, it deals with difficult things. It's a retelling of Pinocchio, which is really interesting. It's a science fiction retelling of Pinocchio. This book is very difficult to describe without getting into spoiler territory. Maybe I'll just read from the synopsis, and I really encourage you to pick this book up for yourself and find out if you're gonna gel with it the way I did. In a strange little home built into the branches of a grove of trees live three robots. Fatherly inventor android Giovanni Lawson, a pleasantly sadistic nurse machine, and a small vacuum desperate for love and attention. Victor Lawson, a human, lives there too. They're a family, hidden and safe. When one day Vic salvages and repairs an unfamiliar android labeled Hap, and he learns of a shared dark past between Hap and Gio, the father. A past spent hunting humans. Anyway, I don't want to continue reading this. You have to read this book. It has probably it's fresh in my memory, so I would say that one of my favorite characters, the little robot, it's called Rambo. It's like a Roomba, but it's called Rambo. Oh my God, you're gonna laugh so much when you read this book, if you have my sense of humor anyway, because again, I didn't enjoy Hitchhiker's Guide to a Galaxy, so, humor is very personal, hit and miss. I love the humor here. I love the action non-stop, the way it builds, what it says about being human. I mean, it's just a beautiful book, and I was really surprised. This is the first TJ Klune book that I read. I was surprised by how affected I was by it. I went out and I just bought two other books by him. Forget the Ties, the Cerulean Sea, something which was really a popular book a few years back, and I forget the other one. But yeah, I'm gonna read them just because this book was a revelation. I really enjoyed it so much. I want to talk about a couple of books that I'm planning on reading soon. I've been hearing so much about The Paper Menagerie. This is a collection of stories by Ken Liu. There's a connection to Ken Liu, of course, here, as I'm also planning on reading soon Death's End. And let me pull that out, which by Cixin Liu, which was translated by Ken Liu. So that's interesting. So I can hold both of them at the same time and save us a little bit of time. So Paper Menagerie, it's a collection of stories by Ken Liu. Ken Liu, of course, is famous for the Dandelion Dynasty fantasy books that I haven't read, but eventually I'm gonna get to them. Of course, I'm reading a lot of science fiction, trying to kind of refresh my memory on some of the books that I read many years ago and read many titles that have eluded me. But I'm super excited about this collection of short stories because I've heard nothing but amazing things said about it. But this book, Death's End by Cixin Liu, oh my God, I cannot wait to read this. I should have probably read it straight because I read The Three-Body Problem and Dark Forest kind of back to back, and then I took a break because they're pretty big books and they're pretty dense. Of course, there's so much to unpack when you're reading this trilogy. The trilogy, of course, is called Remembrance of the Earth's Past trilogy, and this is the last book, of course, and the finale, and I cannot wait to see how it progresses. So I'm excited to read this. I'm really excited now to jump into Cixin Liu's stories. I read a collection of his stories that were also amazing. There's this story about a teacher that really, I had tears in my eyes. Amazing story. I love that. So yeah, this author is someone who really appeals to me, not because of his character development. It's difficult to connect with anyone really in his books, except maybe for the beginning of the Three-Body Problem that starts off with the Cultural Revolution in China, 60s. And there were things that tugged at your heartstrings. But other than that, it's really all about the ideas, the scope. And it's just really mind-boggling, mind-blowing, whatever analogy you want to use, your mind will be, fried. So yeah, I'm also looking forward to reading Authority. So similarly to the Three-Body Problem, this is also part of a trilogy, right? So Authority is book 2. Not too long ago, it's been maybe a few weeks since I read Annihilation. That is an amazing book that I really loved because of the setting, because of how it made me feel as I was reading it. It felt like a horror, like science fiction really at its best, where you're constantly trying to figure out what's going on. Things are unclear, a little bit of Philip K. Dick vibe in it. Definitely an unreliable narrator. There was a lot of stuff sprinkled in it. So this Area X, where this expedition goes into, was really fascinating. And while book 1 in the trilogy, Annihilation, is fantastic on its own, and one doesn't really have to continue, and books 2 and 3 are not as well reviewed typically as the first one, I'm definitely interested in continuing with this trilogy. So I'm gonna be reading Authority hopefully soon. Yeah, I know it's a completely different book as it doesn't really center on the Area X. Yeah, I don't really know what's going on in Area X, but I'm hoping to find out more by reading Authority soon. What else? Oh, yes. Since I just read Lem, I figured I need to refresh my memory of some of his books that I read many years ago. So here's Lem, Niezwyciężony. I actually don't remember the English title for Niezwyciężony. It would be like Undefeated, but I don't think that's the title. I'll look it up and I'll put a note. I read Lem in Polish because I can, and it's amazing. And I've been texting with a few people on the channel, and I've heard that the translations seem to be good. So that's really awesome. I'm happy to hear that. But still, I have an opportunity to read him in the original voice, and he's got such a unique way of writing that is really second to none, I feel. I don't know if it translates well, but as far as Polish literature, it really stands on its own. He's got this way of writing that is really unique and presents an interesting challenge for a translator, I would imagine. So anyway, Niezwyciężony is a ship, huge ship. Yeah, Invincible. That's gonna be, yes, Invincible is the American title. Because it's a ship, it's an invincible ship, and then we find out maybe it's not so invincible. So this is kind of a space opera, not a huge book, obviously. This is only like around 200 pages. I'm looking forward to reading Niezwyciężony soon. All right, let's talk about what I'm reading right now. I'm about halfway through Ursula K. Le Guin's The Lathe of Heaven. Oh my gosh, I'm just so happy to get back to reading Ursula. Her prose is beautiful. Her prose just flows. It's buttery. It's smart. I mean, there's one thing I just gotta read here. So this deals a lot with the mental states. The protagonist of this book dreams of things, and then those dreams come true. So he visits a psychiatrist or a psychologist, I'm not sure. But that person is starting to take advantage of him by using the said dreams that this person has to change the world. Very interesting book, amazing stuff. And I love this little part here where Ursula K. Le Guin writes, anyway, so what if he is crazy? What sane person could live in this world and not be crazy? Right? What sane person could live in this world and not be crazy? I had to highlight that passage. I loved it. I love this book. I encourage you to read it if you haven't. And I haven't even finished it yet, but I know it's going to be amazing. And it's just such a smart book. And talking about crazy stuff, I'm definitely in that mode because I read another Philip K. Dick, and this is A Maze of Death. And oh my gosh, this book was just mind-boggling. The concepts here, the ideas, I mean, you really don't know if reality is real when you're reading this book. People are dying. It's almost like whodunit. Such a great, fun book. People are stranded on a planet with no way out of it, and they're starting to die one by one. And oh my God, religion. There's so much in this book that I had so much fun with this. Amazing stuff. I recommend A Maze of Death highly as well. I mean, all these books are amazing. I have had a couple of reads that were not as good. I did a video for one of them, Ascension, which really disappointed me greatly. But other than that, I'm so excited about what I'm reading. I am so excited about what I'm going to be reading. Let me know, please, in the comments below. What are you reading? What have you read recently? What did you like? Any recommendations for me? I would really appreciate. It's amazing if you've watched this video till the end. I'm just rambling on. I don't also, when I shoot these videos, I don't have anything written out. There is no script. I don't even think about it. I turn the camera on and I talk. So when I write, I notice that there's a big difference in my writing, which is well thought out, and then my videos. But you know what? I really don't care. I don't have the time to write stuff out, to script these videos. I just don't have the time. So I'm just talking and having fun, and I appreciate you watching and connecting with me. So till next time, bye.